This week on Days of Our Mercedes, the Silver Arrows are coming off a mixed bag of results at the Netherlands and Zandvoort, with George Russell tying his career best finish with a second place finish, and Lewis Hamilton ending up fourth, despite having a chance to win the race, but losing out because of bad pit strategy, and Lewis Hamilton cussing the Silver Arrow squad, the leader of men saying that he was fucked out of the win. Of course, after the race, Lewis Hamilton would go on and apologize to the team after what he said to him, but said he would not apologize for his emotions and will continue to wear them on his sleeve, saying that it was just a heat of the moment type deal and people get emotional all the time. Sir Lewis, leader of men. Of course, despite through all this, Toto Wolff would then go on and would back Lewis Hamilton in this situation. Because of course Toto Wolff is backing Lewis Hamilton in this situation. Because all Toto Wolff has done for the past decade is do nothing but kiss Lewis Hamilton's ass and suck his dick every time in these situations. But Toto Wolff, he would go on and call the team the equivalent of a vomit bag for angry drivers, and saying that it was just a heat of the moment type deal and that they took a risk with the strategy, and the risk didn't pay off. But it paid off with George Russell, so figure that out. Toto Wolff encourages his drivers now to just bash the team and just destroy their morale and confidence. Because that's definitely a good recipe here. Of course, for a lot of the drivers this week, the drama was overshadowed with the passing of Queen Elizabeth II at the age of 96. Well, she did live a good life. But Sir Lewis, he would go on and give a heartfelt tribute to the fallen queen, to the fallen majesty, of course. And the FIA, they would spend the week by doing a minute silence tributes throughout much of the weekend before practice and qualifying in the race to honor the fallen Queen Elizabeth. Of course, for Lewis Hamilton, though, he would have an uphill battle right from the start of the weekend, as Lewis Hamilton would end up having to start from the rear of the field in Monza for an engine change. But George Russell, he would go on and say that it would be foolish to not bet against Verstappen, this week in Italy, even though Verstappen will start 7th after having a 5-place grid penalty for changing a component on the engine, and number of cars also go into the back. But Russell would go on and he would qualify 2nd for the race. Could Russell finally get that win for Mercedes? We shall see for the Silver Arrows. But of course, with all the weekly drama out of the way, we would now turn our attention to the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Of course, the last few years for Hamilton and the Silver Arrows, this race has been pretty forgettable, as Hamilton has been plagued with a number of issues at this race the last few years. Could his luck change from having to start at the rear of the field? Well, for Hamilton and the Silver Arrows, their march was very slow right at the start, while Charles Leclerc and Ferrari would pull away in the opening laps. But George Russell would stay quick behind, but all of that would not last too much longer, as Verstappen would quickly rocket his way up into the field in 2nd. But he would find it pretty difficult to try and catch Leclerc and the Ferraris. But then early on in the race, we would then get an early virtual safety car early on in the race, which would then prompt Ferrari to pit Leclerc and put him on a 2-stop strategy. Could they make this work? We shall see. So that would cycle Verstappen to the lead, and then both drivers would go back and forth with the lead, while Hamilton would then slowly climb his way up in the field through strategy. Hamilton would end up finding his way in the top 5, but in the closing laps, we would have Verstappen staying ahead of Charles Leclerc. But in the closing laps, Leclerc ended up having a faster car than Verstappen. But Leclerc just was too far ahead and would need a miracle to have a chance to win this race, while Russell sat in 3rd but was having pressure from Sainz and company, and Perez as well, until we would get a late race safety car for Daniel Ricciardo losing the engine. And then that would prompt the field to all pit, except Lewis Hamilton, as Hamilton would stay out and end up in 5th. But then the safety car procedure would take so goddamn long, as initially, the safety car would pick up George Russell when everyone knew clear as day, no, the leader was Max Verstappen. So we had a botched safety car procedure there, so then that just added on to the time while everyone else pitted for soft tires, but mainly Leclerc and Russell pitting for scuff softs, while Sainz had fresh softs with the Ferrari. Question is though, will we ever go back racing? Because it took so goddamn long to get Ricciardo's car off the track. It got to the point where the marshals just straight up gave up and weren't even going to try and get the car off. To where they had to bring the crane in to lift it up. To where with around 2 or 3 to go, the track was clear enough, was already clear, and they were good to go back racing, but FIA decided, nah, we're not going back racing. And then they decided to end the race under the safety car. What the fuck is this? So Max Verstappen gets an 11th win of the season. Why? Just why? You know what? No, hold on. Cut the music. Cut the music. And no, we're not doing the Supermax music this week. We're not doing that music this week for this finish.
Cut that bitch off!
So Verstappen gets the win. Leclerc ends up second. George Russell ends up with another podium finish to keep his streak and consistency going. Lewis Hamilton ends up in 5th. But this finish was so badly botched. Like, what the fuck was this shit? It's like, why the fuck did they not red flag it? That was a bad call to have it end under the safety car. That's just so goddamn bad. Because it now leads to a bunch of what ifs. What if we went green? Could Leclerc have a chance to win? Could in front of Tifosi? Could Sainz have a chance to win with in front of Tifosi? Could Russell finally get his first career win? Like, could Verstappen have held off all 3 at the end? Well, to be honest though, I think Verstappen probably could have won, probably would have won anyway. But still, we'll never truly know. Like, because a lot of the fans that went to that race, they all go to the race to see a green flag finish, and they did not get a green flag finish. Like, I understand a safety car if there was like 2 or 3 to go, but there was 6 laps to go, and the track was clear with like 3 or 4 to go. You could have easily gone a 2 or 1 lap shootout. Like, if anything, they should have red flagged the race. I think for F1, their solution's very simple at this point. Either A, red flag the race and have it be a standing start for 2 or 3 lap shootout, or B, do what NASCAR does in this situation, and that's go to overtime presented by Credit One Bank. Yes, I propose that F1 should adopt the green-white checker rule. Only 2 laps. 2 laps, if the leader takes the white, next flag ends the race. Whether it be the safety car yellow flag or the checkered flag. Like, F1 should look at adopting a green-white checker rule. It would solve this. The green-white checker rule alone would solve this problem immensely. And for everybody saying, oh, that's a bad idea because the teams might be close to running out on gas. What, does Lean Mix 1 no longer exist anymore? Just throw the bitch in. Like, honestly, under safety car, just throw the fucking bitch in Lean Mix 1. For safety car, virtual safety car, just throw the car automatically in Lean Mix 1 and save as much gas as you can. Like, you save more gas under yellow than you do under green, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, and of course, Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff would both go on and question the FI, saying if this was the rule, how come they didn't enforce this rule at Abu Dhabi? Seriously? You two are still getting fucking butthurt over fucking Abu Dhabi? That race was like, what, nearly 9 months ago? Get the fuck over yourselves, for fuck's sakes. Let me just say this to Hamilton and Toto Wolff. Last year, you had 21 other races to not put yourself in a position where the FIA could dictate the outcome of the race and the championship. And you failed to take advantage of that time. FI didn't cost you the championship. You screwed yourselves out of it this year. And oh, by the way, I haven't even gone to the kicker this week. Because of Lewis Hamilton's 5th place and Verstappen winning, Verstappen's win is now enough to officially eliminate Lewis Hamilton from championship contention. So, oh yeah, Lewis Hamilton, he's now officially eliminated, as now there's only 5 drivers left eligible for the championship. Since Hamilton's in 6, 6 on down have now been eliminated, and Hamilton joins that list. Let me just say this for Lewis Hamilton's antics. He can get away with the antics. You can get away with it by winning a lot. And Hamilton still hasn't won it this year. Hamilton even throwing the team under the bus, saying it's very unlikely that they're going to win a race this year with how unbeatable with how unbeatable the Red Bulls have been this year. Do not buy into that. Hamilton's trying the reverse psychology trick. Interesting tactic, Lewis, with the reverse psychology. Because every time Lewis hypes another team up, it ends up, the complete opposite ends up happening. We've seen this song and dance before, and we know how this ends. But yeah, also, with Verstappen winning this race, it also means that Verstappen now has a 116-point lead with 6 races to go. And oh, by the way, in 3 weeks' time entering Singapore, Verstappen can lock up the championship after Singapore. All Verstappen has to do at Singapore is be 116 points. 130 points ahead of second after Singapore. So for Verstappen to win the championship in Singapore in 3 weeks, he has to finish at least top 3 with the fastest lap to have a chance. And hope that Leclerc, Perez, and Russell all struggle. Same deal with Carlos Sainz. Has to hope all 4 struggle, or at least Perez and Leclerc, and maybe Russell. But yeah, Verstappen, he can officially lock up the championship in Singapore in a couple weeks' time and go back-to-back. But one thing's confirmed, Lewis Hamilton will not win a championship this year. Title number 8 will not happen. And for Hamilton fans, you have no excuses this time. You can't blame the FIA this time. You can only blame yourselves. You can only blame your goddamn selves. But like maybe someday Hamilton fans will actually realize that the FIA did not screw him out of the 2021 title. But I seriously have my doubts. But all I can say is when Hamilton does inevitably collapse, I saw it coming from a mile away. But before we wrap this one up, you know the tradition we have to do here, because, well, everybody else takes out their Metro cards and hops on that L train. Tonight, though, for Lewis Hamilton, his ride home will be short-lived, because he's arrived at Elimination Station. And for that, he goes somewhere different, because for his failures of having a solid season, his failures of getting enough wins to compete for the championship this year, his failures of being consistent enough to compete for the championship this year, his failures to show up and perform when it mattered the most this year, and his hopes and dreams of winning a record 8th championship this year. Consider Lewis Hamilton's name written down in the death note, as his season and his hopes and dreams have been absolutely deleted, you goddamn bum!
There's only one thing left to do. Gotta write their names in the death note. Delete!
Delete. 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 Delete.
Delete it!
You will rest in peace.